Welcome to the fourth video in my Renaissance Warfare series. In this project I'm assembling half a dozen small Renaissance armies to use with Neil Thomas's 1 hour war games rules. In this video I'm going to look at my third army, which is the Conquistadors. As with all the armies in this project, I began by planning a basic list of 10 units. Pike and shot armies in 1 hour war games are made up of 4 basic unit types. The backbone of each army is made up of infantry units, which are usually pike and shot. Then you have reiters, which are mounted missile troops, swordsmen, and finally cavalry. As with every other army so far in this project, the Conquistadors needed a few tweaks to give them the flavour I wanted. The first change I made was to the basic infantry unit. My infantry units are usually made up with a central base of pikes and 2 wings of arquebusiers. The Conquistadors didn't generally use pikes. They're quite awkward, especially if you're traipsing over the Andes. Most of Cortez's men were sword and buckler men, so I swapped out the pikes for 3 sword and buckler men, as you can see at the front of the infantry stand. Let's get these a bit closer. There we go. These are all foundry miniatures, metal, and the flag is, I don't know where the flag is from. Probably got it off eBay, but it might be from First Corps. Actually, I think it's from First Corps. Bit of religious help at the back. So instead of my usual 6 pikes and 3 command, I've got a slightly more open ordered unit base with swordsman instead. And then the arquebus arms, I've mixed in some crossbows. I just wanted some crossbows. The Conquistadors used quite a few crossbows. So the arquebus are foundry, and the crossbows are from the assault group. They mix okay. Foundry are a bit stockier, but I don't think that matters. So there we go. And just randomly placed in the front and rear ranks. All 4 infantry units were done the same way, and they have slightly different flags. So we've got 3 religious flags, different colours, and a stripy flag which I originally got, I think, for my Border Reivers, because it's sort of Scottish colours, but it'll do for here. So that was the infantry sorted. The next kind of unit for the army was reiters. I didn't particularly want reiters for the Conquistadors, but in the same column on the unit choices is artillery, and I definitely wanted them to have artillery. So they can have 2 artillery. And I got, this is the set from Foundry with its little gun, and to vary it I've got the same set, but this gun comes from Gringo Fortis. Okay. And then, because I tend to do the artillery quite late in the process of the project, I also saw a painted version of this assault group gun and crew, and I really liked the gun, so I bought one of those as well. So there's 3 artillery. They can only have used 2 unless we're playing with, everything on the table for some special game, but at least the Conquistador player will have a choice of which stands he uses. Artillery is not very good, not very effective at this sort of time period in the rules. And normally, when you roll your damage for the artillery, you take 2 off it, so they could, a third of the time, they won't actually do any damage at all. But for the Conquistadors against the Aztecs, I'm ignoring that rule, and their cannon will do full damage against Aztecs because there's that shock value that the Aztecs really didn't like. The next unit type is Swordsman. This was really easy for the Conquistadors, more sword and buckler men. Once again, you can have a maximum of 2 Swordsman units, and as you can see, I've got 3 here. This is because I seem to have made a mistake with my calculations, which happens. So these guys are foundry sword and buckler men, and they were left over when I'd finished the infantry stands. So there's 6 of them, so obviously they made a swordsman unit. My plans, though, were to use these assault group miniatures, which I think are really nice, and they have the dog handlers, which again gives the Conquistadors swordsman a sort of distinctive flavour. So they got done as intended, and once again the Conquistador player has a choice of which stands he takes if he gets the option of using swordsman. The final troop option is cavalry. This was an easy choice for the Conquistadors. I got some demi-lancers from the assault group. This flag is from someone off eBay. So there's a command stand there, and then another pack of 3 charging. I didn't do any extra cavalry bases. Amazingly, managed to buy the right number of figures. And although these aren't strictly the heavy cavalry that the cavalry option represents in the army lists, they're certainly enough to put the wind up the Aztecs, and they won't suffer any negative modifiers against normal armies, say the Lanzknechts who've got their gendarmes. And that's it. That's the 10 units for the Conquistadors done, plus those 2 extra that I did as well. So all that's left now is some religious bases. So I got a set of Crusader era monks from the Perrys. But you know, monks are monks, so they're very nice. I did a couple of Jesuits, a couple of Franciscans, though I don't really see the Franciscans heading off to the New World, and a couple of randoms. I haven't finalised my rules for religious command stands yet, but eventually every army is going to have them. So the Conquistadors have 2, and just a bit of sort of away scenery. I did this resin shrine from Alternative Armies, which is a nice little piece. When they're on their home turf as Spanish rather than Conquistadors, I have a whole peninsular Napoleonic Spanish village that I've made, so they'll get a couple of buildings from that. And then finally the actual command stands, which again I haven't finalised my rules for how I'm going to use these, but every army's got them. These are from the assault group. This is a single pack. The flag is from eBay. So you've got a noble and his standard bearer, and another chap as a sub commander. And that's it. My Conquistadors, quite a low density army without the massed sort of stands of the Aztecs or the miniature heavy pikes of the Lancex, this was quite quick to do and quite a low miniature count. Next up is the English Sea Dogs. So quite a similar looking army to the Conquistadors in many ways, but again with its own individual quirks. I've started work on my Elizabethans, but I also want to try and get time in the near future to make the 3 foot by 3 foot board that these battles will be fought on. If I do manage to get the board done, there's a chance that the next video in this series may well be a battle report. Time will tell, I guess. Anyway, thank you for staying with me this far. I hope this was of some interest, and I look forward to seeing you for the next in the series.